An AI that had basically read every physics textbook could only solve 2% of a set of simple physics puzzles. Then, teaching itself from nothing but its own failed attempts, the same AI, same frozen brain, no retraining, climbed to roughly 3/4.
Wait, same model, no retraining, 2% to 3/4? Okay, here's my question for you at home. When the old version failed one of these puzzles, guess how many tries it burned through before giving up? Hold that number. And keep one thing in mind, a ball hitting the ceiling. That little detail is the key to the whole thing.
Here's the setup from a paper out this June. The puzzle is easy to look at. You place a ball, let it drop onto a catapult, and launch a second ball into a basket. A person figures it out fast. A top AI, Claude, that can recite the equations for how a thrown object flies, almost never gets it.
That's the part that breaks my brain, Bella. If it knows all the physics, every formula, shouldn't the puzzle be easy? Knowing the physics is the whole job, right?
You'd think so, but knowing and doing turned out to be two completely different things. And that gap is exactly what every AI aced the exam headline hides. It can pass the test and still flop on the real task. What closed the gap wasn't a smarter AI, it was a notebook. Picture a scientist who's not allowed to get any smarter. Frozen brain, no studying. But they're allowed to keep a lab notebook. After every batch of experiments, they sit down and write down what their winning attempts did differently and the trap they keep falling into. Next session, they read the notebook first.
And the strange part is, the scientist and the note-taker are the same AI, just wearing different hats.
Exactly. One AI plays the doer. It pokes at the puzzle, tries a placement, and watches what happens. Then the same AI becomes the note-taker. It lines up the good runs against the bad runs, writes a few short tips in plain English, and hands them back to the doer for the next puzzle. No retraining, just notes that pile up and get sharper.
So did the notes actually change what it did, or just make it feel more organized?
They changed its behavior completely. And here's the piece to hold on to, Tyler. Remember that ball hitting the ceiling? Watch what the notebook does with it. On one puzzle, the old memory-free version did the human thing, badly. It launched, the ball smacked the ceiling, so it nudged the settings a hair and tried again. Ceiling again. Nudge again. It kept turning the same knob over and over, hunting for a magic number.
Like inching forward and back in a parking spot that's just too tight.
Exactly that. Now the notebook version hits the ceiling once and reads a tip it had written for itself on an earlier puzzle. The tip said, "When you keep hitting the ceiling, stop adding force. A ceiling hit isn't an energy problem, it's a position problem. Move the ball sideways to flatten the arc." It takes its own advice, shifts over, and lands it. That one idea, knowing when to stop turning the knob, is what carried the same frozen AI from 2% to roughly 3/4.
Hang on, my question. The old version, how many tries?
25. Every single one a failure, most of them staring at that same ceiling. The notebook version cracked it in a handful. The ceiling was never the problem, it was the clue.
Okay, but one honest catch. This works because the AI already knew the physics. It just couldn't apply it. Point the same setup at something where its hunches are flat wrong, and it'll happily write confident notes that are confidently wrong. The notebook is only as good as the scientist holding the pen.
Fair, and that's the line the authors draw too. So here's what I'd argue about. If an AI can get this much better just by taking notes on itself, and you can read exactly what it learned, does that make you trust it more? Or less because it's teaching itself things nobody checked?
If you like one AI paper turned into something you can actually retell at dinner, subscribe. We do a fresh one every week.
And the result that settles it comes next. Point this notebook approach at something outside physics puzzles. Real code, real data, and we'll find out if the notes still hold up.